for yourself, allow yourself to truly become aware what in me never ends. And it might be something really simple like, the way I love the divine, it never ends. It might be something like, the way I love kindness that shares through pure-hearted humans never ends. It might be something like, the way I love beauty never ends. Swami Nityananda says that beauty is love made visible. And when we remember that, we will see beauty everywhere. In what is considered conventionally beautiful and what might not be considered conventionally beautiful, we will be in contact with beauty everywhere in the energy of nature. And when we know that the divine is constantly sharing kindness through pure-hearted humans, what do you think that helps the divine share with us through pure-hearted humans? It helps the divine share more kindness with us through pure-hearted humans. And so also when we are here and we are open to asking the divine, what is most of service? I open. Whatever the next chapter is, whatever the next unfoldment is, can you help me open so that even more kindness shares through me? Good morning, welcome, 1,000 welcomes. And we are meditating today. The topic is how to feel connected. Life never ends. And so we're inviting ourselves to connect with this truth, with this reality that life in us never ends. And what Swami Nityananda says is life is a process of self-unfoldment and it never ends. And so we are opening directly to connect with, we're never done unfolding. And so what that means is we can rejoice. We will be expanding forever in the love that we can share, in the understanding that we can arrive at, in the kindness and the caring that we can come forth with from within ourselves. And so for each of us, just to turn within and invite ourselves to rejoice that the process of self-unfoldment never ends. We're always in the right place at the right time. The divine is always in the right place at the right time. Support is always in the right place at the right time. And we ourselves are also instruments for being of assistance and being of support, always at the right place and in the right time. And so if you can, let go of any judgment that you might have about yourself, about where you feel you are in any way, on any level, and just say, I'm unfolding. It's amazing, and I'm open for the next chapter. I'm open for the next unfoldment, whatever that may be. And life never ends. One of the things that's wonderful about this is we're inviting ourselves to remember and to realize directly what in me never ends. And so I invite you to turn within to yourself and just to ask, what in me never ends? So I'm going to use Padma with her graceful permission as an example. Like you just saw through her good humor never ends. And she's not afraid to be self-directed and self-aware with her humor as well. And so that's just an example of, like, you can look at Padma and you can say, okay, her good humor never ends, and she's also using her good humor to have self-awareness and self-clarity. And so that's just an example of an energy that shares through Padma. It never ends in her. So for yourself, allow yourself to truly become aware what in me never ends. And it might be something really simple like, the way I love the divine, it never ends. It might be something like, the way I love kindness that shares through pure-hearted humans never ends. It might be something like, the way I love beauty never ends. Swami Nityananda says that beauty is love made visible. And when we remember that, we will see beauty everywhere. In what is considered conventionally beautiful and what might not be considered conventionally beautiful, we will be in contact with beauty everywhere in the energy of nature. And when we know that the divine is constantly sharing kindness through pure-hearted humans, what do you think that helps the divine share with us through pure-hearted humans? It helps the divine share more kindness with us through pure-hearted humans. And so also when we are here and we are open to asking the divine, what is most of service? I open. Whatever the next chapter is, whatever the next unfoldment is, can you help me open so that even more kindness shares through me? Can you help me open so that even more support shows through me? Can you help me open so that even more light, even more love, even more encouragement, even more laughter, even more hope, even more wholeness shows through me, whatever that may be? You'll also, in the process of asking yourself, what in me never ends, you'll be aware of what in you does end. And so if you allow that to be a healthy awareness that arises, your opinions, they will end. Your human desires, they will end. Your human concepts, they will end. And so if you can allow yourself to lightly hold your human opinions, your human desires, your human concepts, and offer them to the source, and just ask that what is optimal is always being fulfilled. And this helps you live continually in the direct awareness of life in me never ends. The body has a beginning and an ending, and so that means you're not the body. The human heart has a beginning and an ending, and that means you're not the human heart. The human mind has a beginning and an ending. That means you're not the human mind. But life in you, it is immortal. It shall not perish. And so for each of us to allow ourselves to live now, not waiting, but now, in the realization of that in us which never ends. And so one of the things that Swami Nityananda says is, when you know you don't die, that's when you truly live. And so to not wait to leave the body, to have that realization of, I'm still here, but to allow yourself to right now, allow yourself to live that realization of that in me which never ends. And so we're giving ourselves that gift, we're giving ourselves that joy of knowing that we will never be done self-unfolding. And so then we're open, we're willing, we're joyful, we're excited, and we're also aware the changeless supports me through all change. And so for everyone to truly allow yourself to feel the gift of that, the changeless supports me through all change. So if you are aware that your body is experiencing changes, your family is experiencing changes, your friends are experiencing changes, the world is experiencing changes, whatever change you are aware of, the changeless supports me through all change. The changeless supports all that is through all change. And so if you can allow yourself to feel the steadiness of that, the joy of that, the excitement of that, knowing that the changeless is always here and is continually supporting me. The changeless helps me to be always in the right place at the right time, and the changeless helps that perfect support to be here, always in the right place at the right time. Welcome. I'm Swami Nityananda. If you are enjoying this talk, we invite you to like, share, and subscribe. We also invite you to subscribe to our free newsletter on Substack, available at the link below this video. Thank you for being the joy that you are. The Kaivalya Upanishad tells us that it's possible to come into contact with this self-awareness by meditating on the heart. And so we often practice this meditating on the heart. In our opening meditations, we connect and meditate on the heart. But I think it's sometimes really helpful to remember that this is a time-honored, time-tested yogic practice. And so the way that the Kaivalya Upanishad declares this, meditate on the lotus of the heart with calm serenity and subjective purity. In the center of this lotus is realized the source of truth, joy, infinity, eternity, the pervasiveness, power, peace, and perfection of Brahman. If you look at the word Brahman, the root of that word means that which expands. That which expands is in your heart, always. And so we also acknowledged at the outset today, it can take courage to be willing to open your heart in time and space. And so give yourself the gift of courage, opening your heart, and allowing that which expands to support you as you open your heart, allowing infinite grace, infinite wisdom, infinite kindness to share through you as you open your heart. When this teaching says to meditate with inner purity, the Upanishad also says, let go of finite feelings and emotions. let go of negative feelings and emotions. And so just to have your own self-awareness, are there any finite feelings and emotions I have been feeling? Are there any negative feelings and emotions I have been feeling? And how may I place those with love and reverence and respect at the feet of the divine and allow grace, allow divine love and wisdom to help me open and see there is always a subtle, shining, flawless perfection that is always here, because the divine pervades all that is. And so I also shared a teaching from the Upanishads at the outset. Om helps us to realize this entire physical body is pervaded by the divine. And I'm just inviting you to greet your body. The entire physical body is pervaded by the divine. That is incredible. Can you feel how supportive, how loving, how healing, how strengthening, how empowering that is to realize this entire physical body is pervaded by the divine? The teaching goes on to say, objective consciousness is pervaded by the divine. What that means is everything that you think about time and space, the thoughts that you think, they have power because they are pervaded by the divine. They are creative. They help constitute what you experience as reality in time and space. They are pervaded by the divine. And so to be very self-aware, am I thinking thoughts? Am I feeling feelings that I would love to see outpictured in time and space? Srimati Shanti Mataji used that word, that what we think, it gets outpictured in time and space. And so for us to love ourselves so much that we practice self-awareness and we practice thinking thoughts that we would love to see made visible on the screen of time and space. We practice feeling feelings that we would love to see made visible in time and space. And if we're not, to just notice and choose. To say, I notice that I'm thinking that, I would prefer not to energize that. What would I love to think instead? I would love to think about infinite kindness. I would love to think about good humor. I would love to think about the way the divine expresses through the pure hearts of humans. And so to just love yourself so much that you make that conscious shift. The same teaching from the Upanishads says, because the physical body is all pervaded by the divine, because your outer awareness is all pervaded by the divine, two things follow. By your own determined effort, you can make a complete success in objective life. It's telling you you can succeed at anything you want to succeed at in time and space by your own determined effort, because the divine pervades all of you. And so another thing immediately follows. The Upanishad we just meditated on immediately follows. As soon as you realize this is all the divine, this body is the divine, my thoughts are the divine, my actions are the divine, my feelings are the divine, you'll turn within to the divine and you'll say, I give you my human thoughts and feelings. I give you my human opinions and concepts and desires. They're yours. Teach me how to see clearly. Teach me, what would you love to think through me? What would you love to speak through me? What would you love to create through me? So I have a couple of stories that crossed my path this week. And one of them made me laugh, and one of them made me cry. So the laughter is with love and respect. The tears are with love and respect. We'll see if I can say it without crying out loud. But the funny one was that, so the teaching that I just shared, it immediately follows that each of us is invited always to just allow ourselves to be a beacon for kindness, allow ourselves to be a beacon for understanding, allow ourselves to be a beacon for that divine energy that is all pervading. And to know that divine energy that is all pervading, it will share uniquely through each of us in a way that's completely unprecedented, that will only share through us. And so one example that I saw was Friday morning, and it was just in daily life. And I had parked my car at the grocery store. I was walking past these little chairs and tables where people sometimes sit on my way to enter the grocery store. And there was a gentleman sitting there. Every person who walked by him, he said to that person, "Good morning, young person. How are you?" And he said this to people who probably are not usually called young person. And so he got as many responses as there were humans who walked by him. Like the men and women who walked by ahead of me didn't seem to particularly respond. I walked by, he said, "Good morning, young person. How are you?" And I said, "Great, how about you?" And I kept walking. And he said, "Not bad for a big old mass of protoplasm." And that's what I did. I burst out laughing. And he saw my laugh and my smile, and he said, "Thank you for being you." And I went and I did my grocery shopping. And he was just being completely himself. No one could imitate this. And so please don't try to go and copy this, because he was just being completely himself. He was still there after I had done my grocery shopping. So I walked by him again. He had a woman doubled over with laughing. And she was in the process of telling him her air conditioner wouldn't be repaired until after the cool weather returned. And so he was helping people have perspective about whatever they were facing. And with her, what he said was, "I am not an air-conditioned human. I will sit out here and swelter all day long gladly." And then I also heard him, there must have been a man, I didn't hear the man's response, but he must have said, "Well, not great." Because I heard the gentleman who was calling out, and what he said to that person was, "You have seen better than this. You have seen worse than this. You are still here." And he did a sort of like prayer hands and bow. And he was just being like this meta beacon, this beacon of universal kindness, this beacon of love in a completely unique way. In a way that, again, I would never imitate that. It's not my personality style. But for each of us to just know that in our daily life, there are perfect, pure-hearted, spontaneous ways for us to share in ways that are completely true and natural to us. And clearly, I mean, he was spreading like this ripple of laughter for many of the people who walked by him. And so just to allow yourself to connect with your sources of joy, your sources of strength, and then to naturally and spontaneously allow joy and strength to share through you. I'm going to read another verse from the Bhagavad Gita before I tell you the story that made me cry. So in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, this is a teaching for all of us, and it's about life in us which never ends. "Weapons cleave not the self, nor doth fire burn it. Waters wet it not, nor do winds dry it. Uncleavable and incombustible is the self. It cannot be wetted or dried up. Changeless, all-pervading, unmoving, and immovable is it. The self is eternal. Beyond speech, beyond mind, beyond the effects of duality is the self." And so the story that made me cry this week, it's a true story. And I'm going to start off in the present with a young woman who's an artist. She's approximately 34 years of age at present. And she recently was commissioned to paint the official portrait for the outgoing governor of the state where she lives. And so you just have to admit, like, that's an outer marker of what someone would call success. Like, that's what that teaching from the Upanishad says. The divine through us makes a complete success by our own self-determined effort. And so remember, effort is part of this. The willingness to work, the willingness to love, the willingness to train, the willingness to improve and learn and grow and strengthen and continue opening and challenging ourselves. And I'm going to take us back in time now. When this woman was 20, she was in a fire. She was on the 4th floor of a building, and the building caught on fire, and in order to escape with her life, she had to jump from the 4th floor of the building. She broke her back, she broke her ankle, and she experienced burns over 45% of her body. And she was only 20. And so there was this 2-year process of incredible physical pain, and of course emotional pain also goes with that. An incredible process where she was healing She was learning how to navigate physically, how to navigate emotionally in relation to her own body. She was in a wheelchair for a time. She had braces for a time. She then was able to walk. She was able to move beyond the wheelchair. She was able to move beyond the braces. And then she was coming to terms with her body, which had scars on 45% of the body. She wanted to be an artist. And so she trained in classical Renaissance style painting. And so you can think of the images of just beauty, like classic, just luxurious beauty. That's the style that this particular style of painting focuses on. So that's the style that she was trained in. She absolutely loved it. She also realized in this style of painting, which focuses on beauty, bodies like mine are not depicted. And so she created this remarkable portrait of herself. She's a young woman, she's looking at the viewer, and the strongest things that come across are a sense of calm, a sense of strength, a sense of warmth, a sense of courage, a sense of beauty, a sense of wholeness. And she shows her scars. And the scars are subtly present in the painting. The scars are part of the beauty. They're part of the texture of the beauty that she shows in her own skin. And she also has a painting where she paints the wheelchair. She paints the braces that were part of her experience. And my observation about that is there's not a romanticization about it, but there's a hopefulness. And there's a recognition, a respect, that these also are instruments of the divine. There is also beauty in these instruments if they are part of your human experience. And so to allow yourself to feel and to know that no matter what your human experience is, if you do need assistive devices for a time or for a long time, it's the divine in that form that is with you and that is helping you. My other observation is that this teaching, weapons cleave not the self, nor doth fire burn it, she got in contact with what in her could never be burned. And that's what she shows in her painting of herself. And it is beautiful. So another thing that unfolded from that, she had other friends who also had experienced burns, who also had scars, whose faces and bodies were not considered conventionally beautiful. And she painted them. And it was a process of trust. She described it as a months-long process. She was in dialogue with them. She wanted them to be portrayed the way they wanted to be portrayed. And so she said it was a very meditative process. She asked them, how do you want to be portrayed? This is her saying about what they said. We want to be portrayed as normal. We don't want the injury to be the number one focus of the portrayal. We want to be seen. We want to be seen as powerful. We want to be seen as filled with self-love and self-possessed and have agency and be multifaceted. And she also said that overall, if you ask, like, what do people want? When she asked them, how would you like to be seen? They said, I want to show that I'm okay with me. I want to show that I'm good with me. That's what she shows in her paintings. And so her paintings of the people who have been burned, the people who have scars on their skin, she did a couple of things that are really beautiful and remarkable. In their portraits, it is not the most obvious thing about them. That in them which cannot be burned is the most obvious thing about them. They're light. Their wholeness, their strength, their courage, their warmth, their kindness, that is the most obvious thing about them. She does subtly show their scars, and the scars are part of their beauty. She also did a really interesting thing. She took their scars, of course with their permission, and she made prints out of them. And so she's showing there's beauty in the scars. There's a pattern. There's meaning in the scars that they carry. And so for every one of us, we don't have that particular story. We might not identify as having gone through that particular experience. This teaching is here because every human goes through experiences that do create scars. And so for you, to allow yourself in relation to the scars that you carry, whether they be physical or emotional or mental or spiritual, to go deeper than the scars. Another teaching from the Bhagavad Gita is don't identify yourself with the pain that you have experienced. That's not your true self. As soon as you remember not to identify yourself with the pain you have experienced, you also become able to not identify others with the pain that they have experienced. That is what allows you to see wholeness. So that is what she was seeing. She was seeing the wholeness. She was not primarily seeing the pain that they had experienced. This has revolutionary effects. It shows beauty everywhere. She's seeing with what Adi Shankar, the founder of the ancient Swami order after whom Swami Shankarananda was named, Adi Shankar calls that eyes of wisdom. So allow yourself to see with eyes of wisdom. My teacher, Swami Shankarananda, talked about allowing yourself to see with the eyes of love. When you see with the eyes of wisdom, you will know, I am not my pain. No one else is their pain either. You will be compassionately present and aware and responsive in relation to their pain, but you will know that's not their whole story. That's not their whole being. It's not my whole story. It's not my whole being. It's not anyone's whole story. It's not anyone's whole being. And it has tremendous healing effects. So I also came across a story about a physician who was getting these amazing healings in patients that were considered incurable. And someone asked him, how? And he said, I don't see them in terms of their condition. And so for yourself, if you can let go of seeing others in terms of any condition, you're not, I want to be really clear here, you're not bypassing, you're not denying, you're not suppressing, you're aware. In time and space, yes, that person has had that experience. I have had that experience. That person has received that diagnosis. It might be you that have received that diagnosis. And I'm not going to identify with them with that. I'm going to look at the wholeness that is here, at the wholeness that is deeper than that. And that allows us to heal in relation to whatever the scars are that we ourselves carry. And to see that deeper than the scars, there is only beauty. And the way you know there is only beauty is because beauty is love made visible. Love is what you are. Love is that in you which never ends. And so what that means is no one can take love away from you because it is not something you have. It is not something anyone gives you. It is not something you have to earn or deserve or be worthy of. It is you. It is what you are. And so the moment you know that, that just heals human misperceptions. It heals human misunderstandings. And it allows you to claim and to rejoice in that in me which never ends is infinite love. That in me which never ends is infinite wisdom. I will never be done unfolding that. No one will. No one. And so for each of us, just to give ourselves the gift of loving ourselves forward, I will also just say there is a self-pacing to the process. So for her, she had a 2-year period where she was healing, like I'll just call them, like raw, outer, physical wounds, right? So if you are in a period of healing yourself in relation to raw, outer, physical wounds, that's just part of your journey. Be patient. Patience helps healing unfold much more than turning to yourself and saying, well, why am I still here? I'm always in the right place at the right time. The divine is always in the right place at the right time. Divine support is always in the right place at the right time. And then when you realize that wherever you are in your journey, or you might have moved on, you might be deep into emotional healing. You might have done the raw physical healing, and you might be deep into the emotional healing now. Or you might be looking, another thing that we get to do as part of this process is look deeper and say, what are the beliefs that I might have acquired along the way that might be limiting me from feeling I am love? That in me which never ends is love. I am love. And so there is a process of being willing to look at that and saying, do I need to hold on to that belief? No, I don't. I acquired it by accident in 3rd grade because someone was mean to me on the playground. I'm pulling that out of thin air. But humans do carry concepts like that into adulthood that we acquire sort of almost by accident along the way. And so to love yourself so much that you say, what are the opinions, what are the beliefs that are limiting me from remembering and realizing I am love. Love never ends. And so love never leaves my experience, even in the midst of change. Love never leaves my experience. I am loved through all changes. The changeless supports me through all changes. And supreme love will always be expanding, no matter what it is that I am experiencing in time and space. And so thank you, because it is a magnificent journey. You are beauty made visible. You are love made visible. You are infinite wisdom and grace. And it is so much fun to be here with you all. Thank God, and God bless us all.